So last night, Ben and I were talking about this question that I get asked a lot out in the public. Do I ever get nervous before I go on television? You actually had an interesting answer.
I do at times when I've got a big story and I don't want to mess up the intro to it. I'm just like, don't mess up, don't mess up.
No, I can totally get that. I really don't. It's just kind of in my nature just to be like this. But I will say what gives us an edge is our schooling. We actually went to school to learn how to communicate. But for some, what Ben and I do, it can be intimidating getting our ideas across, speaking in front of people. But that's why people are taking part in a special group right here in Tallahassee, getting the gift of gab. Life lessons can happen anywhere. Take this Tallahassee Golden Corral. From the outside looking in, you'd never know lives are changing in this very room.
I was 28 years old and I had no communication skills. I did not get that job.
This is Ashok Shahane, admitting his lack of communication skills cost him a job teaching at Yale.
I totally failed.
But that failure was a wake-up call, leading Shahane to find this group, Toastmasters.
The one word that describes Toastmaster is transformation.
So what is Toastmasters? In a nutshell, it's a club helping people to communicate and lead more effectively by giving and evaluating speeches.
I was looking for an opportunity to be around a supportive group of folks that can help me work with the types of skills needed to be more informal with my speeches.
In its 92nd year, Toastmaster clubs are all around the world, including 17 right here in Tallahassee. Using manuals for guidelines each week, members delve into different areas of speaking, from simple to informative, even comedic, depending on their skill level.
I've had the opportunity to see folks come in with very limited skills, and over a short time frame, when they carefully review the notes, when they carefully watch other more mature speakers, that it is a tremendous opportunity for them to grow professionally.
Toastmasters also helps create better leaders. Each week, members evaluate speeches, making sure speakers stay within a certain time limit or lead short discussions known as table topics.
Wayne, how has Toastmasters transformed you?
Whether you can speak for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. Members say the point is to help each other break down those invisible fences of self-doubt.
We're all here to help you to become the person you were intended to be. Don't be afraid. We're all afraid when we got here. But you'll outgrow it. We'll love you through it.
A transformation members are taking outside of this room and putting it to good use, not just in their own lives, but also the lives of others in our community. The Early Bird Toastmasters Club meets every Saturday morning at 8 at the Golden Corral in Tallahassee. If you'd like to learn more about Toastmasters, how much it costs, and a club that fits your schedule, you can head online to WCTV.tv and click on that link. And Ben, coming up tonight at 11, I'm very excited. I hope you'll join us because I will show you how one Toastmaster is taking those skills that they learn in the club and taking it to a very interesting place.
You're looking at one of Tallahassee's 17 Toastmaster clubs. Last night at 11, Abby gave us a detailed look inside this international organization. Its focus, helping people develop better speaking and leadership skills.
And Ben, there are several notable people who are Toastmasters, like MSNBC's Chris Matthews, actor Tim Allen, even a few astronauts. But here in the Big Bend, there is one Toastmaster who, while not nationally known, is doing something special. His name is Chuck Rabeau. Almost 7 years ago, this seasoned Toastmaster had an idea. Why not take the club's model and bring it to a place where lives truly need a transformation, our local prisons? With the Florida DOC's blessing, Chuck started the Gavel Clubs, a venture that continues to grow beyond his wildest dreams.
None of us are in here for singing too loud in the choir.
Making big mistakes. That's why Lance Wilson and these other men are here at the Jefferson Correctional Institution in Monticello.
I just made an extremely dumb, poor choice.
But owning up to those mistakes is why Lance and 34 others head to the chapel every Wednesday as part of the Out of the Blue Gavel Club.
An offshoot of Toastmasters, Gavel Club members do all the same things, give speeches.
But sometimes in real life, we come up with a topic that we might have to talk about that we really don't like.
Take leadership roles.
That's the speaking portion of our morning. Here comes the educational part. This is where it gets tough.
The only difference, members don't pay dues and have a sponsor.
You guys know that I love you to death, and I think you do a wonderful job, and I do support you 100%.
For Mike Akridge and Chuck Rabeau, watching these men each week grow into the best version of themselves is what this program is truly all about.
One of the things that bring people into Toastmasters is lack of self-confidence.
Leading inmates like Club President James Ollins to use violence instead of their voice.
I spent a lot of time using force to get my opinion across, and I found that the Gavel Club has helped me communicate my needs better.
It's also giving inmates like Paul Chapman a sense of self-worth. On this day, Paul is giving his very first speech.
I've been in prison for 27 years. I finally got a parole date, but I don't know what to do when I go.
It's this question Assistant Warden of Programs Amanda Ralph says the club helps answer by giving the men valuable life skills.
The inmates are going to gain the ability to effectively communicate during a job interview for employment. And I tell the guys, don't go home and just reside in your community. Go home and be a part of your community.
A philosophy bringing these men back each week, arming themselves with the tools necessary to make it beyond the fence. Communication
is just key to reentry. A person that is leaving these gates, if they can communicate or can, is whether they will succeed or not.
For inmates like Ollins, the Gavel Club is his lifeline while in prison. His sentence may never let him leave the gates of Jefferson.
Came in with something, fell short, but we're growing and sprouting.
But serving as a mentor for those who will helps rewrite his life story as well.
We are success. We are success. We are success.
And from out of the blue, stories once starting with sadness and fear are ending with confidence and hope.
Today, there are 17 Gavel Clubs across Florida DOC's Region 1. Since the clubs are run by Chuck and not the DOC, that's why he brings in sponsors like Mike to help oversee the club. And Mike pays things out of pocket, like the dues, paper, pens, notebooks, that sort of thing, including his own transportation. And Ben, I want to thank Allison Thorpe, our photojournalist, for helping me with that. I also want to thank the men of the Out of the Blue Gavel Club, as well as the officials at Jefferson for letting us come and be a part of that meeting and see what it's all about. It's truly giving men skills that are going to help them when they get beyond the fence.
And you're looking at the Out of the Blue Gavel Club. On Tuesday, Abby took us to Jefferson Correctional Institution in Monticello. Toastmaster Chuck Rabeau is teaching communication and leadership skills to inmates there. And the men aren't the only ones benefiting from this program.
That's true. At first, the Gavel Club were only in male prisons, but through Chuck's persistence, a Toastmasters club is thriving in a local women's facility.
Put yourself in Melissa Sapp's shoes.
I've been incarcerated since October the 6th, 1996.
And you were 28 when you came in?
I was 28 years old when I came into the system.
Next December, she's getting out. That'll be 22 years and 78 days behind the fence here at the Gaston Correctional Facility in Quincy.
I wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I realized that I didn't know how to present what I was saying.
But 3 years ago, Gaston formed a Toastmasters Club. Now Melissa is learning skills, changing her life in many ways.
I've come a very long way. I've come so far to where when I go see my doctor now, I can better describe my symptoms. So that this Toastmasters is helping me with everyday life.
And she's not alone. Every Thursday night, 37 women gather in this room because, as their club name indicates, they're driven by destiny.
I'd like to introduce our theme for tonight, and it is Beyond the Fence.
Learning to advocate for themselves. Shelley Sonberg is the warden. She says that's something many women don't know how to do when they arrive.
Their confidence is very low. And frankly, there's a lot of insecurities. Many of them have never learned to have a voice for themselves.
But through this club, they're learning to speak up.
I don't want to be just a statistic. I'm a human being with a living, breathing, beating heart.
Using their speeches to heal their past of drugs, abuse, even the shame that comes with being in prison.
I was one of those people that automatically judged and put that stigma on people in prison, like you have to be this bad person. But once you come here, and you know that you never saw yourself doing that, but I made choices, I made decisions that landed me here.
But through programs like this and support from people like the warden, Chuck, and their sponsor, Pat Goodwin, these women are choosing the path towards a better life.
A lot of people tend to not realize the women will be picking up children from our children's schools. They'll be in our churches, they'll be in our grocery stores. By any other name, they're our neighbors.
One where their voice is clear and confident.
Set up, set sails with me. Now that we're all aboard of this flagship of greatness, know that you are great.
Each of these women will be released someday from Gadsden. By participating in this club, maybe, like Melissa, they can free themselves from the things that got them here and lead a life full of motivation beyond the fence.
Now, unlike the Men's Gavel Club, the women's facility can form an actual Toastmasters Club because it's run by a private company and not the state. MTC, which owns Gadsden, budgets a few $100s a year for the women's dues and other materials. And Ben, I want to thank photojournalist Allison Thorpe again for her help with that, as well as the ladies of Driven by Destiny and the officials at Gadsden. I really enjoyed coming out to see everybody and see this program and see how it's truly changing lives.
This week, Abby is showing us how a local Toastmaster is using the club's model to give inmates the communication and leadership skills they need to succeed after their release.
Now, I know some of you have been watching this series and going, okay, this sounds like a great program in theory, but is it really helping these inmates once they're released? Besides teaching valuable skills for job hunting, it's also giving them a ready-made network of people once they exit those prison gates.
Same category.
My first encounter with Bob Costello is back in June while visiting the Jefferson Correctional Institution.
The sound, Mr.
At the time, Bob was just a month from release after spending 15 years in prison.
I personally thought I would not make it in prison during the first 3 years.
But thanks to programs like the Out of the Blue Gavel Club, he made it.
Cloud 1, you were a beginner, the novice.
2 months later, we're meeting again, this time miles from the barbed wire fences of Jefferson.
I felt personally like a Neanderthal man coming out of his cage. Technology has so far surpassed me that I'm going to have an interesting time catching up. We had total involvement.
Bob is reintroducing himself to the world, getting involved in a local Toastmasters club.
The topic master talks about opinion. Did she have an opinion? You know she did.
Every week, Bob is here engaging in protocol he knows by heart.
It makes no difference. We could swap clubs and we could have the same synergy, the same energy, the same vitality that we had no matter whether you're in or out. That's a really neat idea.
That full circle concept is why Chuck started the Gavel Clubs, to give people like Bob an opportunity right away to get plugged into a positive network of people.
When they get out and they've served their time, they need that opportunity to prove themselves.
Which is exactly what Bob is doing.
It's amazing what we can learn from other people. And
taking part as a guest, showing people who he is now before revealing his past.
I have to deal with my own demons, my own skeletons in the closet, but it's important to know I want to be a contributing member of society. I want to regain my status. I want to regain my dignity, my integrity.
Goals Bob says the majority of ex-inmates want to achieve.
Society may say, oh, he's the exception to the rule. But I'm sorry to say, that's not the way it is. There are more people like me in prison than you'll ever even imagine.
People like Lance Wilson.
It's a lifestyle. We're learning every time we get here.
And Stacy Tuck.
You have the ability to succeed.
And countless others taking part in this program.
What brilliance is in this room. And I want to thank everyone because I'm learning from you.
All like Bob, wanting opportunity and acceptance to live a new productive life beyond the fence.
Chuck Rabeau says the DOC is hoping to expand these programs, but they need more volunteers and funding to help. They have set up a GoFundMe account, and we have a link to that on our website at WCTV.tv. And that's the key to all of this, Ben. This is a program run solely on volunteers and their own money. This is not a program that is funded through the Florida DOC. So it's vital that they have volunteers, that they have funding. So if it's on your heart to do that, please give some money, or if you'd like to volunteer. These volunteers get so much out of it, and the inmates get so much out of it.
And seeing the hope on Bob's face, you can't help but pull for him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.